संबते सहा लिखिया मिलकर पावहो तेल देहो सज्जन असीसड़ियाँ जो होवै साहिब स्यों मेल घर घर एहो पाहोचा सदड़े नित पवन सदन हारा सिमरिया नानक से देह आवन
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the next lesson. So here, we're still on the first Shabad of Kirtan Soila in Rag Gauri Deepki, written by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the first Mela. We're at the last part of this Shabad, but I want you guys to pay special attention because this is one of the most important parts of Soila. You know, if I were to give you like a final exam of sorts or an essay to write, this last part of this Shabad would probably be a very important question. So most authors as well, this is one of the most talked about portions of Soila. So I just want to emphasize to you guys how important this particular part is. So again, we're still in Rag Gauri Deepki here, and now for the last 4 lines, starting with Sambat Saha Likhya, all the way till the end of this Shabad, is what we call the wedding metaphor. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji is going to use a beautiful metaphor here, talking about a traditional Punjabi wedding, and comparing that to the day when all of us pass away, when we all die, and we have our meeting with our Creator. First thing I want to just point out right off the bat here is in order for this metaphor to be understood well, for it to make sense, you have to put yourself in the place of an average person in the late 1400s Punjab. Okay, so let's go back in time for a second. Who are Guru Nanak's primary people sitting in the audience right now? They're not other Sikhs, because Sikhism has just started. It's not even completely an organized religion yet. It's still in the process. So the majority of people coming to hear Guru Nanak sing and hear him speak are average Hindus in Punjab. Some Muslims as well, but mostly Hindus. And at that time in Punjab, when they would have a wedding, unfortunately, there was no equality between the husband and wife at that time. At that time, the husband had 100% control in the marriage, and the wife had 0%. So what does that mean? That means basically the husband calls all the shots, and the wife has to listen. There is no equality. There is no sense of joint decision making. It's the wife basically adjusting herself to the requests and the wishes and demands of her husband. And I want to point out here, because some people get confused. When I've taught this before, people have kind of gotten confused saying, hey, wait a minute, why is Guru Nanak using a metaphor that is highly, that's talking about treating men and women completely differently? I wanted to clarify that right now before we get into it, is that Guru Nanak Sahib is not in any way endorsing this type of relationship. In fact, in the Guru Granth Sahib, in Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Bani and others' Bani, they talk a lot about the equality of people, the equality of both men and women. So this type of behavior is completely rejected by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, completely rejected in Sikhi in general. In Sikhi, men and women are considered completely equal, and they can do exactly the same things as each other. There's no special rights for men or for women. Everyone's considered equal. But in order to talk to an audience, you have to talk in a language using vocabulary and ideas that make sense to them. Otherwise, they won't understand the greater message being told. It's as if you go to teach a class and you start talking in French, and no one sitting there understands French. Well, how are they going to understand your ideas if you're talking in a language that they don't understand? So similarly here, Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying, I need to find a metaphor. I need to find an idea that my audience can relate to and understand, so I can explain this concept of God. So he's just using this wedding metaphor as what it is, a metaphor. He's not saying this is how it should be. This is just a way for his audience to understand the relationship between a human being and God. That's all it is. It's just a metaphor. Okay, so in order for this to work, you have to put yourself, in that time period, and understand that here the metaphor between a human being and God is the same as between a wife and her husband getting married. Okay, so with that, let's go through the metaphor. Sambat saha likhya milkar pavo tel. Sambat Saha meaning the date of the wedding has been fixed. Okay? So from two levels, right? You have the secular wedding metaphor, right? Just in terms of the husband and wife getting married. Then you have the spiritual metaphor of a human being meeting God, right? His date or her date of death is when that meeting with God happens. So Sambat Sahalikya, from the secular point of view, the date of the wedding has been fixed. So as you guys know, when people get married, they send out cards. When they pick a date, it's basically fixed. Unless something horrible happens, they don't change the date of that wedding. You don't send out cards saying, hey, my wedding is on this date, and then later on you say, oh, just kidding, I'm changing it. The date of my wedding is actually this date. It's a big deal to get married. You don't mess around with that date. So similarly, Guru Nanak Sahib is saying, just like a date of a wedding is fixed and cannot be changed, once it's there, it's set in stone. Similarly, the date of our death, our date of departure, our date when we meet with God, our wedding with God, is also fixed. Sambat Saha Likhya. It's been fixed. We can't change it. It's beyond our control. The date of our departure has already been set by Him, and we can't do anything to change it. As a result, Milkar Pavo Tel. Now at that time in Punjab, it was a ritual to put some oil on the forehead of the wife or the bride that's about to get married. So similarly, Guru Nanak is saying, apply that oil of love to me, that I be accepted by my husband, Lord. Deho sajan asisriyan jo hove sahib syo mil. So asisriyan are referring to, a blessing. So imagine we are that bride in the secular metaphor that's about to meet her husband. So she's worried, obviously. She's very nervous because she's never met the person she's about to marry. And she knows that she will have to adjust her lifestyle based on what he wants. So she's asking for the blessings of all her family members, her entire Sangat around her, saying, please give me your blessings. Why? Jehovah Sahib Somil. So as a result, when I meet my Sahib, when I meet my husband, there's male between us. We get along well. Just as Guru Nanak Sahib is asking us here, the Sangat, please bless me that when I meet my God, when I leave this world, when I pass away, my body passes away, and I meet God, that we also get along well, that we also have male, there's connection. If you think about it, between a husband and wife, if there's no male, if they don't get along, then marriage generally falls apart after a while, or people are very unhappy. So Guru Nanak Sahib is saying, just like the bride is worried that her husband will not approve of her, Guru Nanak Sahib is afraid, not afraid, but he's talking from our perspective, that I hope he approves of me, that my actions, my characteristics, my beliefs, my thoughts are all in line with what he wanted me to be like. So similarly, please give me your blessings that I be accepted by my husband or by God. Kar kar eho pauncha sadre nit pavan. So in every single home, in every single house, these marriage summons, right? These announcements for marriage are being sent out everywhere, to every single home. Meaning everyone one day, especially in Punjabi culture at that time, just like everyone one day would get married, similarly everyone one day will also pass away and have that marriage with God. You're not immune from this. It's not like you can decide, I'm not going to have that meeting with God. No, you are going to have it. Remember, Sambat Saha Likhya, your date of departure is already set. You cannot change that. So every single person will have these announcements, right? These announcements for marriage are being sent out every day in all homes. Everywhere around us, you hear people getting married, right? Just like we hear people passing away. So you have marriages both at the secular level getting married, and also at the spiritual level when we marry God Himself, when we have that meeting. Both of those things are happening simultaneously around the world. We see that every day. Sadan hara simriye Nanak se the avan. Then Guru Nanak Sahib is warning us at the last line saying that your day will also come, your date of marriage, that spiritual marriage, when you will be face to face with your husband God. And that he will have to decide then, he will decide whether he approves of you or not. If you have those characteristics, if you've done what he told you to do, if you understood and you read and sung Gurbani, if you did seva, if you actively fought the 5 sins, kam, krodh, lobh, moh, ahankar, if you tried to become a better person, if you kept your reh, if you stayed away from intoxicants, you did what the Guru told you to do, then your marriage will be successful. Because he will accept you. You've done what he wanted you to do. You have the characteristics that he wants you to have. So just like the bride here who's nervous, she will probably during her lifetime leading up to her marriage begin training for that wedding, right? So if she knows that when she gets married, her husband God, or here the secular level, just her regular husband would want certain characteristics from her, certain skills that she'll have to know. She understands that if she starts preparing for that marriage far in advance, there's a better chance that the marriage will be successful. So similarly here, Guru Nanak Sahib is saying, hey, just like you know you're going to get married, why don't you start preparing for that marriage right now? Why don't you start becoming a better Sikh right now? Why don't you start learning Kirtan and Rag or listening to Kirtan and Rag? Why don't you start doing your Nitnem? Why don't you stay away from intoxicants? Why don't you keep your rehet? Why don't you become more kind and forgiving and compassionate and do more seva? Why not start now? We can think and play the average game. But hey, you know what? The average lifespan of a person in the United States is, I don't know, maybe 78 years old. So as a result, I'm 20, so that gives me 58 years to work on this. So I'll work on it later. No, Guru Nanak is saying, start now. Don't delay it, because you don't know when your date of departure is coming, right? You don't know what can happen down the road. You don't know what can happen right now in 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks. Anything is possible. Especially in our times today, we keep hearing on the news about these horrific events. Anything is possible. So Guru Nanak Sahib is saying, don't delay this. You know that your date of marriage is coming. So start preparing right now for that marriage. Start preparing so that when your day of marriage comes with God, when you pass away from this world and you meet him, that he approves of you, that he accepts you. He says, you know what? You have the characteristics, you have the skills that I wanted you to have, that Gurbani says you should have. So therefore, you will be you will be in out of that cycle of birth and death, you will have a successful marriage with God. But, some people have come up to me and said, you know what, Angad, I understand what you're saying, that we should start preparing right now because you never know what can happen. But, for example, someone came up to me a year ago when I taught this saying, I'm willing to play the average game. He said, you know what, I understand that I could die in 2 minutes, but I'm willing to roll the dice. And I'm willing to bet that I'm probably going to live until my 70s or later. I take care of my health. I'm a careful person. I know there's a chance I may go, but I'm willing to play the risk. So he's like, what's the problem then if I win on that risk, and when I retire in my 70s, then I start doing all of this stuff that Guru Nanak is saying. Then I start focusing on Kirtan and Path and Seva. What's wrong with that, he said. Why can't I focus on my career right now and doing all this other stuff I want, my personal life and my relationships, and then I'll worry about this later when I have more time? What's the problem with that? So maybe some of you are thinking about that right now. What is the problem with that? If you're willing to take that big risk. And the problem with that is this. Think about your grandparents right now, right? Do they have the same eyesight ability as they did when they were in their 20s or even their 30s? Can they see as well? What about their hearing? Can they hear as well now as they did back then? What about their basic ability to walk and get around? Are they as, able to move around as they were when they were younger? What about their mental capabilities? Can they think? Are they as sharp as they were back then? And biology tells us that's not possible. Because as we age, we lose our physical and mental capabilities. We get weaker. both on a physical level and on a mental level when we get older and older. And to think that somehow, after 70 years of acting in one way, you can overnight completely change your life and adopt completely new habits and characteristics is ridiculous. It's not possible. When we get older, we get set in our ways more. We're not more open to changing. We are set in the ways that we've already been accustomed to. And then on top of that, Gurbani is not easy to understand. Okay, there's PhD students that struggle with understanding even certain lines of Gurbani. And to think when you're 75 years old and you're tired, you suddenly will be able to understand everything. You can learn music when you're that old, when you've never sung one note your entire life. Or you want to start meditating when you haven't focused for 1 minute your entire life. It'll be easy for you. It'll be extremely difficult. And unless you have some sort of very, very special kirpa on you from God himself, it's not possible when you're that late to start your journey. You're going to be in trouble later on. So Guru Nanak Sahib is saying, not just because you don't know when the date of your departure is coming, but because you have the strength right now to do this, to be on this path, therefore get on this path right now. Don't delay. Don't delay. You don't know when that date of departure is coming. And even if it comes later, you'll be much weaker later. You're strong right now. The best time to do something is today. Start right now. Don't wait until after your midterm. Don't wait until after the semester or the quarter is over. Don't wait until summer break. Start right now. God knows if that time is ever going to come, what's going to happen to us later. You have the chance right now. You're in good shape right now. Do it now, Guru Nanak is saying. Do not delay this. This is not worth the risk of delaying. Okay? And the last thing I wanted to talk about on this particular part of the Shabad is we just take a step back for a second, okay? And we think about what is Guru Nanak actually comparing. So he's comparing a wedding, which in almost every culture around the world, including Punjabi culture, a wedding is a date of immense joy, right? A celebration. That, everyone says, oh, that one of my happiest days of my life was when I got married. Okay, so you have one day here that is extremely happy and joyous. And then Guru Nanak Sahib is comparing it to the date of death, which in the vast majority of cultures is considered a very sad day, right? No one's happy to hear someone died. It's always, your condolences instead of congratulations, right? Someone passed away, it's a sad day. It's a somber occasion. Depending on how old that person was, it could be a flat-out tragedy as well. Okay? So just think about it for a second. Just the beauty of Gurbani here. How amazing it is that Guru Nanak Dev Ji took a day of celebration and he made it comparable, he used the metaphor, to a day where most people think is really sad. And why is that? Because Guru Nanak says if you've done what the Guru has told you to do during your life, if you've done seva, if you do your nitnem, you keep rehet, you get rid of your 5 sins, right? You learn kirtan, you sing kirtan and rag, you listen to kirtan, you do all of these things and you become a connected person. If you've done all this, when you finally meet God and he accepts you, what's not to celebrate? That is a huge moment of celebration for you, that you were successful in this world. Congratulations to you. You won. You did what you were here to do. You had a purpose when you were born, and you fulfilled that purpose. So when you pass away, and God takes you away from that cycle of birth and death, Guru Nanak Sahib is saying, what's not to celebrate? This is the biggest day of celebration of your life. So think about that, how beautiful that concept is. Guru Nanak Sahib turned the tables on death itself, saying that death can actually be a joyous thing if you've done everything you're supposed to do during your life. If you've done everything you're supposed to do, then this is a great day when you meet him. Bhagat Kabirji has a shlok in which the English translation roughly says, do not cry for the death of a saint because he's just going home, but cry for the death of a wretched, faithless cynic who gets sold from door to door. Okay, so when a saint, a connected person leaves this world, then he's going home to his husband God. It's a day of celebration for him. And this epitomizes the concept of Chardikala, of eternal optimism in Sikhi. That even the most sad occasions where everyone else in the world cries over and fears, such as death, Sikhi says even in death we can be victorious. That even in death there's optimism. That I don't look at death as a bad thing. I see death as an opportunity. An opportunity that if I'm successful in this life, I do the things that Guru Sahib has told me to do, that death will not be a sad thing. It will not be something to cry over, but it will be a joyous occasion when I'm finally, in sync with God, and He pulls me out of the cycle of birth and death. If I have done the things He has told me to do in this lifetime, if I've done seva, if I've kept rehet, if I've learned kirtan and rag, I've sung kirtan and rag, I listened to kirtan and rag, I have helped others, I have been kind and forgiving and generous, I've fought and got rid of the 5 sins, right? I've meditated, I've done all this stuff, then this is a very joyous occasion. So again, Chardikala literally personified in this Shabad here by Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So with that, this ends the first Shabad of Soila, and now we have a special, I think, treat for you guys. So you may have noticed I'm emphasizing Rag quite a bit in these videos because it's so important. So right now, after I finish speaking, in this video itself, you're going to hear a recording of this Shabad sung in Rag Gauri Deepki. And the Ragi here is by Avtar Singh, who is one of the Panth's greatest Ragis ever produced. He passed away in the 2000s, but he was a 12th generation Ragi, meaning for the last 11 generations of his family, from the time of, I believe, Guru Ram Das Ji, his family has been doing Kirtan. Lot of the compositions, the wreaths that he sings, were actually sung in front of the Gurus, at the time of the Gurus, including the one that you're about to hear right now in Rag Gauri Deepki. So this is the Shabad as if how Guru Nanak sung it the first time, in that same Rag that Guru Nanak sung it the first time, with Bhai Madana Ji next to him. Okay? And also, if someone's interested, I just wanted to let you guys know that Bhai Avtar Singh's son, Bhai Kuldar Singh Ji, currently is doing Kirtan for the last several years, and he has continued that tradition. So even to this day, if you want to hear live Kirtan in Rag that was done at the time of the Gurus, there are still Ragis such as Bhai Kuldar Singh available that you can learn from, and you can hear Kirtan from that time. So with that, I will see you next week. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
तुम गावो मेरे निरोभोगा दोहेला, तुम गावो मेरे निरोभोगा दोहेला, तुम गावो मेरे निरोभोगा सोहेला, हमारी जीत सोहेले सदा सोग मोय, जीत सोहेले सदा सोग मोय, जीत सोहेले सदा सुख होए, मेरे निरोभोगा सोहेला, तुम गावो मेरे निरोभोगा सोहेला, मेरे निरोभोगा सोहेला, तुम गावो मेरे निरोभोगा सोहेला, निरोभोगा सोहेला, निरोभोगा सोहेला, हम ਵਾਰੀ ਜਿਤ ਸੋਇਲੇ ਹਉ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਿਤ ਸੋਇਲੇ ਸਦਾ ਸੁਖ ਹੋਏ ਸਦਾ ਸੁਖ ਹੋਏ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਕਾ ਸੋਇਲਾ ਤੁਮ ਗਾਵੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਕਾ ਸੋਇਲਾ ਤੁਮ ਗਾਵੋ ਤੁਮ ਗਾਵੋ ਤੁਮ ਗਾਵੋ गावो मेरे निरभव का सोयला मेरे निरभव का सोयला तुम गावो तुम गावो तुम गावो मेरे मेरे निरभव का सोयला तुम गावो मेरे निरभव का सोयला हमारी जेत सोयले जेत सोहेले सदा सुख होए मेरे निरभव का सोहेला तुम गावो मेरे निरभव का सोहेला जय घर कीरत आखिए जय घर कीरत आखिए करते का होए बिचारो जित घर गावो सोहेला चित घर गावो सोहेला शिवरी को सिरज शेर जन हारो मेरे निरभव का सोहेला तुम गावो मेरे निरभव का सोहेला तुम गावो मेरे निरभव का सोहेला हमारी जेत सोहेले सदा सोग होए जेत सोहेले सदा सोग होए जेत सोहेले सदा सुख होए मेरे निरभव का सोहेला तुम गावो मेरे निरभव का सोहेला नित नित जियड़े संभालिया नित नित जियड़े संभालिया देखेगा देव तिरदान कीमत ना पवे तिरदान कीमत ना पवे तिस दाद कवन कवन सुमारू मेरे निरभव का सोहेला तुम गावो मेरे निरभव का सोहेला तुम गावो मेरे निरभव का सोहेला हमारी जेत सोहेले सदा सोग होए जेत सोहेले सदा सुख होए मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला तुम गाओ मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला। संबत सार लिखिया संबत सार लिखिया बिलकार पाओ तेल देवो सजन आशीष देवो सजन आशीषड़िया जो होवे साहेब साहेब सो मिल मेरे निरुभव का सोहेला तुम गाओ मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला तुम गाओ मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला हमारी गीत सोहेले सदा सोग होए गीत सोहेले सदा सोग होए गीत सोहेले सदा सोग होए मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला तुम गाओ मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला। कर कर एवो पहुँचा कर कर एवो पहुँचा सदरे में पवन सदन हारा सिमरिया सदन हारा सिमरिया नानक से देखे पवन मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला तुम गाओ मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला तुम गाओ मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला हमारी गीत सोहेले भला सोग होए गीत सोहेले भला सोग होए गीत सोहेले सदा सोग होए मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला तुम गाओ मेरे निर्भव का सोहेला तुम गाओ